Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Now, I've had this replay lurking in my hard drive for, I'm not entirely sure. It hasn't been that long, less than a month, but it's definitely not this patch. You can tell there are certain things like no aiming circle on the minimap. But I thought it was high time to put this replay up on YouTube, because it is pretty spectacular. This is Troll Sidon from the North American server in the Soviet, or to be more technically correct, Imperial Russian Tier 3 cruiser, the Bogatyr. It's a pretty good ship. In fact, it's a very good ship. It's got solid armour, although it doesn't have as much health and armour as the St. Louis, the American Tier 3 cruiser. But it's still pretty competitive. The guns are good, the manoeuvrability is good, but it is very slow, and it doesn't have a single anti-aircraft gun. Now, there are no aircraft carriers in this battle, so the lack of anti-aircraft guns isn't going to be a problem. The speed, or lack of it, is. He's in one of the slowest ships on his team, with a top speed of around 24 knots. And the game has started him right at the back of the pack, so he's got some sailing to do before he can even get in range of anything worth shooting at. Hopefully, his team aren't all going to die by the time that happens. The speed of the Bogatyr is, well, it's not that bad. I mean, at the time that this ship was in service, 24 knots for a cruiser was a perfectly acceptable and, in fact, even respectable speed. Let's not forget that the purpose of a cruiser was to conduct long-range patrols of, well, primarily overseas shipping lanes. Speed was nice, but endurance was more important. You had to be able to go to sea and stay at sea for a good long patrol. So in that respect, from a historical perspective, 24 knots was a perfectly acceptable speed for a cruiser of this era. It's still pretty slow for a Tier 3 cruiser in World of Warships, though. This ship has another fairly distinctive peculiarity. It comes as stock with 152mm guns, but you can research and upgrade to 130mm guns. And it's this so-called lower caliber gun upgrade that's what makes the Bogatyr the ship of choice for Tier 3 SEAL clubbers. You see, while the 130mm guns don't actually fire as quickly and do less damage per shell, and also have less penetration, the accuracy is better, the fire chance is better, and the shell velocity is better. And because they're only 130mm guns, you get the full benefit from basic and advanced firing training, because they're less than 139mm. Of course, in order to have skills like expert marksman, basic firing training and advanced firing training, you're probably going to have a few more games played under your belt on your Bogatyr captain than your average Tier 3 cruiser captain. This is where the SEAL clubbing bit comes in. However, before you all start getting outraged, while it is true that Troll Sidon does have nearly 4,000 games played on his North American server account, he's not actually SEAL clubbing. He has no premium consumables, he's running no signal flags, the ship doesn't have a camouflage pattern applied. He's got the stock surface detection range, so he doesn't have a captain with a concealment expert skill on this ship. In fact, whenever he gets spotted, he doesn't even know how many ships are shooting at him, so he doesn't appear to have a captain with any skill points. His guns only have a 10.3 kilometer range, so he doesn't have the upgraded fire control system, and when he does fire the guns, you can see he has a 9-second reload, which is the reload of the stock 152mm guns. And there's his first kill, with a 100% stock, no camo, no premium consumable, no signal flag Tier 3 Bogatyr. Troll Sidon is actually working his way down the Soviet cruiser line. And judging by the fact that he has 0 upgrades and not a single skill point on the captain, I think this may even be his very first game in the ship. Now, you are going to see a fair amount of stupid in this battle, and while I am entirely happy to laugh and point fingers at the stupids in high tier games, because they should damn well know better, it's not really fair to laugh at the stupids in a low tier game like this. This is a Tier 3 battle. Some of these guys may have only started playing World of Warships, there's his second kill, may have only started playing World of Warships on the day that this battle took place. So while you are going to see plenty of stupid, It's not really fair to laugh at it. I mean, feel free to have a good chuckle, but I'm not going to be making a big deal out of it. Instead, I'm going to try to be constructive. Now, while Troll Sidon is putting some shots in the direction of that retreating cruiser, remember there was a V-25 in close combat with a Wakataki and a friendly Caledon. There they are. Now that V-25 was in poor shape. The Caledon had taken a few hits as well, but the Wakataki almost has all of his health. So just hold that thought, just bear that in mind, because we're going to be coming back to that little love triangle between the V-25, the Caledon, and the Wakataki very soon, just as soon as Troll Sidon's finished dealing with his wicks. And straight away you can tell that you're in a low tier game, and nobody has any skill points on their captains. He's hit, he's knocked his engine out, and he doesn't keep going, because he doesn't have last stand. Instead he slows to a stop, making himself an easy target, and kill number 3. The Wakataki still has all of his health, but the V-25 still isn't dead yet. What the hell is going on over here? I know the Wakataki's guns aren't particularly good, but they're not that bad. Well, they are that bad if you don't use them. The Wakataki has actually spent the last minute and a half circling the V-25 trying to torpedo him without once ever firing his guns. And there's kill number 4. In fact, Troll Sidon has a brief discussion with Devil Dog Charlie is his name. We're not making fun of him. He's clearly a new player. He doesn't know any better. Just fire your guns, dude. You had him ages ago if you just fired your guns. The thing is, I'm sitting here saying he's a new player. He doesn't know any better. And he is a new player. But he may think that he does know better, because it's entirely possible that he's actually done a bit of research. He's gone onto the World of Warships wiki page and he's looked up the Wakataki, or he's looked for some videos on YouTube about the Wakataki. And if he has done that, and I suspect he probably has, every piece of information available to him is going to confirm that the Wakataki's guns suck. And they do suck. But they suck even more if you never use them. Of course, there's a time and a place to use the guns on a Japanese destroyer. When you're spotted anyway, and there's no way you're going to go undetected, because the target that's spotting you, the one that you're trying to torpedo, is 400 meters away from you, and it's shooting at you, that's a pretty good time to actually use your guns if they happen to be pointed at the target. Later on in this battle, we're going to see a prime example of when it's not a good idea to use your guns in a Japanese destroyer. But for now, it's back to Troll Sidon. The team are losing pretty badly. There are enemy ships inside the cap circle, and the defenders are falling like dominoes. We're about to lose that Caledon. There he goes. And the Mikasa, which is only a tier 2 battleship, and is a fun ship, but isn't particularly good. He's doing what he can, but that's a lot of ships and a lot of guns and potentially a lot of torpedoes heading his way. He's going to need some help, and eliminating that G101 seems like the best thing to do. And that is the Kraken. Now, while Troll Sidon is directing his fire towards that Emden over there, just pay attention to the minimap. Our little friend in the Wakataki has actually headed north, and he's now inside the enemy cap circle. Now, he can't actually cap it out at the moment because there's an enemy Caledon cruiser in there, but the Caledon is running away. He's actually leaving the cap circle. I don't know if the Wakataki had fired any torpedoes at him and the Caledon just panicked because he'd been spotted by something he couldn't see and he realised he was sharing the cap circle with an enemy destroyer. But he is now outside of his own cap circle, which means the Wakataki is now actually gaining capture points and could now be in a position to win this game for the team, despite the fact that they are behind on both points and ships. He's in the right place at exactly the right time, so well done to him. All Troll Sidon has to do now is keep these enemy ships at bay, and preferably sink as many of them as possible in the process. The Mikasa just took a couple of hits from deep water torpedoes, so the Farang is definitely around there somewhere. Yep, there he is, taking shots from the other surviving destroyer on the team. But there goes the Emden, so there's kill number 6. And the St. Louis can't get out of the cap circle fast enough, so this is almost certainly going to be kill number 7. And he's on fire, and there it is, kill number 7. Right. So the difference in points isn't that bad now, although the enemy team are still ahead one ship. But the Wakataki is still in the enemy capture point. And he's still capping, which means he hasn't been spotted, or if he has been spotted, he hasn't been hit because he hasn't been reset, and he's now almost at 50% base capture. Now, the enemy team can see that their base is being capped just as well as we can. But seeing that your base is being capped and reacting to it, or being in a position to react to it, are two entirely different things. The Caledon, South Carolina, and St. Louis are never going to get there in time. The Farang might, but it turns out that Farang doesn't really need to, because the Wakataki was paying more attention to the Caledon approaching and not where he was going, and he's just accidentally sailed right out of the cap circle and reset it himself. I know. I said I wasn't going to laugh, but if it's funny, it's funny. To be fair to the Wakataki, he was never going to make it anyway. There's the Farang, he's now inside his own cap circle, so he's blocking any capture progress. The other surviving destroyer on the team, the friendly Storozhevoy, is trying to shoot up that Farang, because the Wakataki is now back inside the cap circle. And the Storozhevoy appears to realise that that's the ship that needs to die. Unfortunately, perhaps the Wakataki paid a little bit too much attention to Trollseiden's advice earlier in the game. Use your guns. Because now, not earlier, when he was 400 metres away from the V-25, no, now, when he's unspotted inside a cap circle, now is when he decides, maybe I should give these guns a go after all. Actually, no, that wasn't a good idea. And so now it's 2 against 4. And the Storozhevoy has been hit. He's been hit a lot. He doesn't have a huge amount of health left at all. And his torpedoes are absolutely diabolically bad. Which means that if he wants to take any further part in this game, he's going to have to use his guns. And the guns aren't terrible on the Storozhevoy. But the problem with the Storozhevoy's guns, it's actually one of the strengths of the Storozhevoy's guns, they're high velocity ammunition, which makes it relatively easy to lead a target and still land accurate shots. But because they're high velocity, they have a flat trajectory. They're not like, for example, American destroyer ammunition, which has a very, very high ballistic arc. In an American destroyer, it's relatively easy to hide behind an island and just shoot over it without being spotted. Can't really do that in a Soviet destroyer, even if at tier 2 you would even know how to do that, which is unlikely. But it doesn't matter because you're in a Soviet destroyer and it's very difficult to do even if you know. And he probably doesn't know. So every time he fires his guns, they can all see him. And he's probably only really still alive at this point because everybody's tunnel visioning on Trollseiden. But the second they start to pay attention to the fact that there are some shots coming in from another direction, that Storozhevoy is probably not going to... There it is! Yeah. Yep, the Caledon has noticed that there is a very, very low health destroyer that needs killing. Which means the Storozhevoy is almost certainly dead. There's the high caliber award. You can tell, again, you can tell this is a low tier game. High caliber with 65,000 damage done. And then 2 things happen very, very quickly. Trollseiden gets his 8th kill by sinking the Caledon. The Storozhevoy gets nailed by the enemy Farang, the tier 3 Pan-Asian destroyer. Incidentally, the only other ship on his team that sunk anything was the Turenne. And he did that. In fact, it may even have been the First Blood Award. But that happened 10 minutes ago. With 2.5 minutes of the game time expired, that was the last time anybody on his team actually sank anything. In the 10 minutes since then, Trollseiden is the only ship on his whole team who's actually put an enemy ship on the bottom. And he's spotted. So we know they're coming. Oh look. Somebody's in the cap circle. It's not the St. Louis. So it must be the Farang. Yep, there he is. He's popped smoke already. Now the Farang didn't really have an awful lot of choice there. He's within 5.76 kilometers, which is his surface detection range, because Trollseiden was charging him down. He's been forced to blow his smoke. But smoke screens work both ways. In fact, Trollseiden's even there in chat. Thanks for the smoke screen. It helps. And it does help. I mean, he's still spotted at the moment. But that was the St. Louis on the far side of the smoke screen. Now the St. Louis is firing blind as well. And if the Farang had launched torpedoes along Trollseiden's projected course, they're all going to miss. And if he hadn't launched torpedoes, he's now effectively firing them blind. Yep, there they are. So now, he really needs to finish off the Farang, so then he can use that smokescreen against the St. Louis. And the South Carolina, who's probably heading in this direction as well. That South Carolina really is going to be a problem. I have no idea how much health he has. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, be very, very quiet. We're hunting destroyers. And there he is. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Now I know the Farang has a pretty quick torpedo reload, but I don't think it was quick enough. So he's down. Where did the St. Louis go? No shots came from the St. Louis. Has he headed around the island to the left? That would explain why he didn't fire. Well, one way or another we're going to find out. Smokescreen's dissipating. He is spotted. Ooh, that's not good. Well, there's the St. Louis. But there's the South Carolina as well. Oh look, a top tier battleship at the end of the game, and he still has all of his health. Are you sure this isn't a tier 10 battle, Jingles? I know I said I wouldn't laugh, okay, but if it's funny, it's funny. It's not my fault, it's funny. And there's kill number 10. Actually, you know, while we're here and we're in the mood for a laugh, let's just see if the South Carolina's firing high explosive as well. Wait for it. Wait for it. Yes! Well, of course he is. Somebody sell that man a Tirpitz. And yet, I mean, I'm laughing because it is funny. And yet, at the same time, that high explosive salvo, if it's stupid but it works, he's not only set him on fire and done a shit ton of damage, he's also knocked out his steering and his engine. So at this point, with his damage control on cooldown, it wouldn't matter if the South Carolina never fires again, and he is, because Trollseiden was going to burn to death anyway. And so that's a 10 kill defeat for Trollseiden in his very first game in the Bogatyr. And on that bombshell, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.